Welcome to Science Store online classes.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Hello students, welcome to chemistry classes. Today we shall discuss about the metals, non-metals and semi-metals in the classification of elements and periodicity in properties. Students, we have studied in the previous class about classification of elements in the period-wise manner and block-wise and group-wise manner. Now, the elements which are present in the periodic table, they can also be classified as metals, non-metals and metalloids. So, now we are studying about the classification of elements into metals, non-metals and metalloids. Now, what are metals? In the whole periodic table, about 78% elements are metals. 78% elements of the in the periodic table are acting as metals. What are the properties of metals? Metals are generally solids at room temperature. These are generally solids at room temperature. But there is exception. Exception is the metal that is mercury. Mercury, which we represent as Hg, this is a liquid. Otherwise, the elements which act as metals, which have the capacity to donate electrons, they are all solids at room temperature. Being solids, metals have high melting and boiling point. So, they have high melting and boiling point. But there are two exceptions for this one also. They are cesium and gallium. Exception is cesium. Cesium is the group 1 element which is represented as Cs. This one has a melting point 302 Kelvin, whereas the another element gallium, whose melting point is 303 Kelvin. These are the melting points. Otherwise, generally being hard, being solids, they have high melting point and boiling point. Now, where these metals are located in the periodic table, they are found in left side. They are found in left side of periodic table. As you move from left to right in the periodic table, metallic character decreases. As you move down the group, metallic character increases. So, what we can say is, along the period, that is from left to right in the period, that is in the horizontal row, metallic nature or metallic character of elements decreases. Whereas as you move down the group, vertically as you move down the group, the metallic character or metallic nature of the elements goes on increasing. So, generally the metals are present at the left side of the periodic table. At the top, the metallic nature is less. At the bottom, metallic nature increases. Down the group, metallic nature increases. Along the period, metallic nature decreases. Now, what are the other properties of metals? These metals are malleable and ductile. Metals are malleable and ductile. What is meant by malleable? By applying force, metals can be converted into thin sheets. Thin sheets, that property is called malleability. Metals, by applying force, can be converted into wires. That property is ductility. So they are malleable and ductile. And one more important property of the metals is they are very good conductors of heat and electricity. So they are good conductors of heat and electricity. Remember, the metals are located at the left side of the periodic table. Now these are few properties of the metals. So we can consider the leftmost elements. They are group 1 and group 2 elements. They are all metals. Even the D block elements which come in between S and P block, they are also metals. So S block, D block and F block elements, they are all metals. Now let us deal with another type of elements. They are non-metals. Now non-metals means what? These elements have the capacity to gain electrons. Metals have the capacity to donate electron. Non-metals have the capacity to accept or gain electron. The non-metals, these are present on the right side at top of periodic table. These are present on the right side of the periodic table. That means some of the elements of the P block are non-metals which are present at the top in the right side of the periodic table. What are the properties of these non-metals? These non-metals, they are generally solids or gases at room temperature. So at room temperature, they exist as solids or gases, and these have low melting and boiling point. These have low melting and boiling point. But there are exceptions for the non-metals which have higher melting point or boiling point. The exceptions are two. They are the boron, which I'll represent as capital letter B, and carbon, symbol is a C. These two are exceptions which have high melting point and boiling point. These are very hard. Generally, non-metals are hard, but they are brittle. Brittle means they can be powdered easily. They are hard, but they are brittle. We know along the period metallic nature decreases, means non-metallic nature increases. Down the group metallic nature increases. The other meaning of this is down the group non-metallic nature decreases. Generally, these non-metals are weak conductors or bad conductors of heat and electricity. These non-metals cannot be converted into sheets, means they are not malleable and they are not ductile, means they cannot be converted into wires also. Generally, the topmost elements in the P block act as non-metals, and there are few more elements which are called metalloids. Metalloids are also called as semi-metals. These semi-metals have the properties in between to that of the metals and non-metals. In the periodic table, in a P block, the topmost elements act as non-metals. Bottommost elements act as metals. In between there is a zigzag line which contains semi-metals, and it separates non-metals at the top and metals at the bottom. So, some of the elements in the P block are semi-metals or metalloids. Above them, whichever are there, they act as non-metals. Below them, the elements present in P block act as metals. Now, which are the elements which act as semi-metals? Examples for the semi-metals are silicon, germanium Ge, arsenic As, antimony Sb, then tellurium Te. These are few examples for the semi-metals or metalloids. Here silicon and germanium, these belong to the group 14. Arsenic, antimony belong to the group 15. Tellurium belongs to the group 16. Group 13 onwards up to group 18, they are P block. In the P block, there is a zigzag line in which semi-metals are found, above which the non-metals are found, below which metals are found. So, in general, if I say, as you move down the group, metallic nature increases, non-metallic nature decreases. As you move along period, that is from left to right, the non-metallic nature increases, metallic nature decreases. So, this is how the elements of the periodic table are classified into metals, non-metals and metalloids. Students, now let us move on to the next concept, that is periodic trends in properties of elements. What is meant by periodic trends in properties? We have elements which are arranged in horizontal rows and vertical columns. In vertical columns, the similarity in properties are found. Why similarity in properties is found in vertical columns? Why? Because there is similarity in electronic configuration. So, you take any vertical column, each vertical column we call group. You take any group, you find a similarity in properties after regular interval. Why? Because after regular interval, there is similarity in electronic configuration. That similarity, which is found in regular intervals, is called periodicity. So, what is periodicity? Periodicity is a similarity in physical and chemical properties in certain intervals. And we find periodicity or periodic trends in properties of elements. Say for example, if I consider in a period, you take any period, that is, you take any horizontal row, what you find is group 1 and group 17 elements are highly reactive. Why group 1 elements are highly reactive? Why? Because they have the tendency to donate one electron. Why group 17 are highly reactive? Because they have tendency to gain one electron so that they get stable electronic configuration. So, in our periodic table, the extreme left and on the extreme right, except noble gases, the elements are reactive. In case of group 1, if you consider chemical reactivity down the group, that is, as you move down in the periodic table, what is found is chemical reactivity in group 1 increases, whereas reactivity down the group in group 17 elements decreases. The reasons are different. Why so? Let's study later on. So right now what you understand is, you take any particular group, there the elements belonging to the group show similarity in chemical properties, maybe the reactivity with some other element, or there may be physical similarity. Say for example, their melting points may show a regular trend, their boiling points may show a regular trend, their heat of fusion or any other physical property may show similarity in regular intervals. So now we are studying about that is periodicity or periodic properties. Under periodic properties, we are going to study about properties like atomic radius, ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, and electronegativity. In periodic properties, first let us consider the atomic radius. First let us study about atomic radius. Now atomic radius indicates what? What it represents? This atomic radius represents size of an atom. Atomic radius represents size of an atom. What is atom? What and all it consists of? Students, atom means there is nucleus at the center, and in that nucleus protons and neutrons are present. You have studied in chapter structure of atom. In the nucleus, the positively charged protons are there along with neutral neutrons. And this nucleus around which electrons are revolving in circular orbits. So electrons are present around the nucleus. Electrons are negatively charged. The number of electrons and the number of protons in a neutral atom are equal. Number of protons is equal to number of electrons in a neutral atom. So this is about the atom, what it comprises of, where the subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, electrons are located. This idea you have. And you also know that atom is very small. It has very minute size. Such a small atom for which we are going to measure size. It's difficult. The measurement of a size of atom is difficult. Why? Because it is very small. And one more thing is, in atom there is nucleus around which electrons are revolving in circular orbits like this. Electrons are revolving. Now around the nucleus, electrons are revolving. Electrons do not have a definite boundary. There is no definite boundary for the electrons. So measurement or determination of atomic size is difficult, or whatever values you measure, you will not get the very similar values or close values. So we can say atomic size is not a precise value. Why it is not precise? One reason is atom is very small. One more reason is there is no definite boundary for the electrons around nucleus. That's why measurement you will not get as an accurate value. Nowadays, the instruments like X-ray or spectroscopic methods are used to measure the atomic size. Atomic size is measured using these methods. So atomic size or atomic radius is measured using different spectroscopic studies. One example is X-ray spectroscopy. This atomic radius can be given in terms of covalent radius or metallic radius or van der Waals radius. Atomic radius can be expressed in terms of covalent radius or metallic radius or van der Waals radius. Covalent radius is also atomic radius. Metallic radius is also called atomic radius. Van der Waals radius is also called atomic radius. Now let us study specifically about what is covalent radius, what is metallic radius and what is van der Waals radius is. First let us study about covalent radius. So let's know now about covalent radius. This covalent radius is the atomic radius of non-metals. So covalent radius represents atomic radius of non-metal atoms. It is atomic radius of non-metal atoms. Now here, what is the meaning or definition of covalent radius? It is 1/2 distance between nuclei of two covalently bonded atoms. It is 1/2 distance between nuclei of two covalently bonded atoms. Now what is meant by covalent bond? Covalent bond is the bond formed between two atoms by mutual or equal sharing of electrons. Say for example, student A has a Kit Kat chocolate. Student B has Dairy Milk chocolate. Two students have two different chocolates. Both want to eat or both want to taste both. So what they do is, student A cuts the Kit Kat chocolate into half and gives to student B. Student B cuts the Dairy Milk chocolate into two and half of it is given to A. So there is equal sharing. Such type of electron sharing occurs in some atoms, leading to covalent bond formation. So covalent bond is the two atoms equally share electrons. As a result, attraction or bonding is formed between the two atoms. That is covalent bond. Let's consider this is one atom which shares electrons equally with another atom. So between these two atoms, equal sharing of electrons has taken place. Hence, a covalent bond is formed. Now, for both the atoms, there is a nucleus. Let's consider this is the nucleus of first atom. At the center, I am writing the point. This is the nucleus of another atom. Complete distance between nuclei of two atoms which are covalently bonded is internuclear distance. Half of the internuclear distance is covalent radius. So I can say covalent radius, which I'll represent as a CR, is internuclear distance divided by 2. Internuclear distance divided by 2. So from here to here, that is the distance between the nuclei of two bonded atoms is internuclear distance. Exactly half distance. Exactly half distance means so much. This is covalent radius. Say for example, I'll consider one example for this. I'll consider chlorine Cl2. Internuclear distance. Internuclear distance is equal to, let's consider it is 198 picometer. This is the internuclear distance of Cl2. So covalent radius, how much it is? We know covalent radius is 1/2 distance between the nuclei of two covalently bonded atoms. So this is 198 divided by 2. On dividing, how much you get? 99 picometer. So this is what the covalent radius of chlorine is. Covalent radius is atomic radius itself. It is the atomic radius of the non-metal atoms, which is 1/2 distance between nuclei of two covalently bonded atoms. So this is the covalent radius. Next, let us come to metallic radius. As the word suggests, this is atomic radius of a metal atom. Atomic radius of metal atoms. This is also defined as 1/2 distance between nuclei of two metal cores, or you can say two metal atoms. It is 1/2 distance between nuclei of two metal cores or two metal atoms which are bonded to each other. If I consider this is one metal atom, this is another metal atom. These are the two metal atoms which are bonded to each other, which are attracted to each other. For these, I'll draw the nuclei like this. This is the nuclei of first metal core. This is the nuclei of second metal core. This is the complete distance, which is called internuclear distance. 1/2 distance is called metallic radius. So here again I can say metallic radius is the internuclear distance between the two metal cores divided by 2. So internuclear distance divided by 2. If I consider copper Cu, internuclear distance is 256 picometer. 256 picometer. We can find the metallic radius. How to find the metallic radius? Divide the internuclear distance by 2. So what will I do is 256 divided by 2. That is 128 picometer. 128 picometer. So this is how the atomic radius is expressed for the non-metal atoms and metal atoms. I've told you about another term, that is van der Waals radius. So let's learn about van der Waals radius. So next is about van der Waals radius. This van der Waals radius is radius for the or atomic size of the noble gases or inert gases. So this represents atomic size of noble gases. Students, noble gases belong to group 18. So we can say this represents atomic size of group 18 elements which are chemically inert. They are chemically inert because they have completely filled electronic shell. So they generally do not get bonded to each other. Now for these, the metal atom, the non-metal atoms may be attracted towards each other like this. Now here, these are the nuclei of every atom. Now what is van der Waals radius? It is actually 1/2 distance between nuclei of adjacent atoms of different molecules, or you can say it is 1/2 distance between nuclei of adjacent atoms which are non-bonded, which are not bonded to each other, means they belong to different elements, I mean different molecules. See, this is one molecule, this is another molecule. Here two atoms have combined to form a molecule, here two atoms have combined to form a molecule. Now these two, this A and B, are the two atoms which are side by side, adjacent, but they are not bonded to each other. So these are non-bonded atoms which are adjacent to each other. Complete distance between nuclei of them is internuclear distance. 1/2 distance between the nuclei of two non-bonded atoms which are adjacent to each other is van der Waals radius. So this is about the covalent radius, metallic radius and van der Waals radius. Next, let us study about variation of atomic radius along the period and down the group. Student, just now we studied about atomic radius which can be expressed in covalent radius, metallic radius or van der Waals radius. So metallic radius, covalent radius, van der Waals radius represent the same, that is atomic radius. Now let us study variation of atomic radius in the periodic table. First let us study along the period what happens. Along the period from left to right, what happens to the atomic radius. So along the period from left to right, as you move, what happens is atomic radius, it is decreased. Atomic radius decreases. Why? Let's take a very simple example. Let's consider group 1, lithium with atomic number 3. Next let us take beryllium, which is group 2 element. So this is group 1 element. This is group 2 whose atomic number is 4. Then comes group 13 element, that's boron with atomic number 5. Group 14 element, carbon with atomic number 6. Let's consider these. Lithium electronic configuration, if I consider, it is 1s2 2s1. For beryllium there are 4 electrons, so 2 electrons in 1s, 2 electrons in 2s. So 1s2, 2s2. Boron 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. Totally 5 electrons. Carbon 6 electrons. So configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. See, these are the electronic configurations of the elements have taken, which are belonging to different groups. So what I am doing is, I have taken elements of group 1, 2, 13 and 14. Means I am moving along the period. In lithium there are 3 electrons, beryllium 4, boron 5, carbon 6 electron. If the same I represent in this manner, lithium atom I can represent this way. There is a nucleus around which there is one shell, then comes second shell. 1s belong to the first shell, 2s and 2p belong to the second shell. So in lithium, in 1s orbital there are 2 electrons, in a second shell there is 1 electron. Next let us take the beryllium. This is the nucleus around which there are 2 shells. In first shell there are 2 electrons, in the second shell there are 2 electrons again. You take the next element, boron. There are 2 shells again around nucleus. This is the first shell, this is the second shell. In first shell you have 2 electrons, in the second shell you have 3 electrons, 2 and 3. Next element is carbon, which I'll represent this way. Let's consider this first shell, this second shell. In the first shell there are 2 electrons, second shell 4 electrons. What you can find is, as you move from left to right, that's what is found is atomic number increases, but electrons are added to same shell. Here in the second shell you find 1 electron, here 2 electron, here 3 electrons in the second shell, here you find 4 electrons. So here electrons are added to the same shell. So what? So effective nuclear charge increases. As a result, electrons are pulled inside by nucleus, so size decreases. Atomic radius or atomic size decreases. The reason is electrons are added to the same shell as atomic number increases. So as atomic number increases, electrons are added to same shell, and hence effective nuclear charge increases. As a result, electrons are pulled inside by nucleus. What is effective nuclear charge? In simple words, if I say, it's a charge of nucleus. Students, here if I consider protons and electrons, in case of lithium there are 3 protons, 3 electrons. In beryllium 4 protons, 4 electrons. In boron 5 protons, 5 electrons. Carbon 6 protons, 6 electrons. Because number of electrons and number of protons are equal. Look at here. Protons, where they are in the nucleus. Electrons are added to the same shell. So protons pull the electrons inside due to the increase in effective nuclear charge. Why? Because electrons are added to the same shell, not to the new shell, which leads to decrease in atomic radius along the period. This is important, how atomic radius varies along period and what is the reason behind it. It's a 2-mark question. Now let's consider down the group what happens? How the atomic radii varies down the group. So let us take this one. Down the group, atomic radius increases. Down the group, atomic radius increases. Let's take one example for it. Let's have a group. I'll consider group 1 now. I'll consider group 1. In group 1, what I have is the elements lithium with the atomic number 3, then comes sodium with the atomic number 11, then comes potassium with the atomic number 19. And after potassium there is rubidium, cesium, francium. But now I'll take only these 3 so that you can understand the concept. Down the group, as you move down the group, just observe atomic number increases. Atomic number increases means number of electrons increases. So if you consider electrons here, group lithium has 3 electron, sodium 11 electron, potassium 19 electrons. So let's write electronic configuration. Electronic configuration. Electronic configuration of lithium, if I write, it is 1s2 2s1, 3 electrons. Sodium 11 electrons, 1s2, after which 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Total 11 electrons. So you can verify, you can count it. 2 plus 2 plus 6 plus 1, 11. Potassium 19 electrons. So configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1. Look at here. 1s means the first shell, that's K shell. 2s belongs to the second shell, that is L shell. So there are 2 shells in case of lithium. You take sodium, 1s belongs to K shell, 2s and 2p belong to L shell, 3s belong to M shell. So there are 3 shells in case of sodium. Take potassium, 1s belong to K shell, 2s and 2p belong to L shell, 3s, 3p belong to M shell, 4s belong to N shell. So how many shells you find? K, L, M, N, S means totally 4 shells. So number of shells are increased. Electrons are added to new shells. As a result, size expands. I can show it this way. Lithium size, sodium and potassium, I can represent this way. Lithium, if I consider, this is a nucleus around which there are 2 shells. You take sodium, how many shells are there? 3 shells. So I can write it this way. First shell having 2 electrons, second shell having 8 electrons, third shell having 1 electron. You take potassium, how many shells are there? 4 shells, which I can represent this way. This is nucleus around which you find 4 shells. First, second, third and fourth. Compare the size. What happens? As atomic number increased, electrons are added to new shells, hence number of shells increased, therefore atomic size increased. So down the group always atomic radius or atomic size increases. The reason for this one is as atomic number increases, electrons are added to new shells, hence number of shells increases. As a result, size expands, atomic radius increases. You can see 2 shells here. You can find 2 electrons in the first shell, 1 electron in the second shell. In case of lithium, sodium 2 electrons in first shell, 8 electrons in the second shell, and the new electron adds to the new shell, that's third shell, which is M shell. Potassium, 19 electrons, where 2 belong to the K shell, first shell. 8 electrons belong to L shell, that is second shell. Again 8 electrons belong to M shell, that is third shell. The last electron, that is 19th electron, goes to the fourth shell, which is N shell. So number of shells increase, so size goes on expanding. So this is how atomic radius varies down the group and along period. Remember, as you move down the group, atomic size goes on increasing. As you move along period from left to right, atomic radii decreases. So this is about atomic radius and variation of atomic radius along period and down the group. Remaining periodic properties, let's discuss in the coming class. Thank you.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.